They say love is blind. I say not from behind. I'm kidding. Not from behind the curtain, There's a lot of things that can be it could be fault, or it could be seamed between the seams. It's not what it seems, except when you throw a 4-seam on the outside corner and all of a sudden Mookie Betts doesn't want to hit your fantasy score. It's cool though, it's cool. No saltiness whatsoever, because I am from the Himalayas. It would be cool to go on a detox retreat though, in one of these Bali to India, and be portioning out minuscule food, and have a nice little villa for $450 a day. And it's basically like a free hotel trip, except you're paying for a 5-day trip $2,300 apparently. But they have these legitimate detox retreat things where you go to like this remote place in, I think, India or wherever island, they're around. The one I watched, it was a guy who went to a part of India. And essentially, when all is said and done, he got a 30-minute procedure at the end of the trip. Of course, they wait till the end, because if they did this at the beginning, you probably ask for your money back. They portion out your food. Oh, you go to this hour-long meditation. It's like literally all they did in a day, all this guy paid for, they brought juices to his room. Then they would go take a walk together, and they would give him like a tour of the area. Then they would go do meditation, this nice big old steam room. And then they walk back to the room and go back to the lobby area and eat. And literally go back to his room and be on his phone, be on their phones, when that kind of defeats the whole purpose of a detox, but whatever. I basically did that for 3 or 4 days, a few different activities, but it's pretty bland type of situation. And then all of a sudden, they did some type of 30-minute, didn't really go in deep detail, but basically this guy got a little colonoscopy. I guess it's part of the detox, He was given laxatives every day. They were doing these nice herbs to consume to, get rid of the leeches in your body, per se. I think that at a given time, they say there's over like 1.5 E. coli parasites in you at a time, or deadly parasites, but because we're so immune to it, we're just constantly fighting it off. It's pretty amazing what the human body is capable of. And all I can think about is you literally just pay $2,400 to have some jelly particles go up your butthole. Because that was the big bang, the big shebang. That was the only thing that actually brought resistance on the trip, I wonder, do you have to pay extra if you accidentally, shell on the guy's hand? Because I'm sure it's going to happen, But that's one thing. If you're a doctor, you're covered. Well, hopefully you're covered. Well, you'll also be covered by whatever comes out. But, typically they have containers to put it in, the process, like a juicer. Imagine just them having a ninja juicer to catch your butt juices. Jesus, this shit went left. But if you're just going to a resort, like, this is privately owned. This isn't like their job. They're just, I don't know why, like, there's so many procedures that you can go inside of me and cleanse stuff. And you're like, sorry, this is the only way out. This is the way we got to do it. And, maybe it's their way to get back at us, colonizers for, colonizing their land and stuff, the British. And so, I don't know, I found it interesting. It's a weird way to detox. Now, the guy did say during the trip, he felt terrible. He didn't really feel like it did much. But the weeks after we got home, he did change habits without even realizing it. He did. It was much more beneficial after. And I'm like, hey, man, you could just... I feel like this is one of those things you could have just had a conversation with a friend about. You could just found you a nice, earthy girl in the States. And they'll make you all this shit for free, man. I don't know if it's free. They either have an endless supply or you're about to go to Vitamin Shop and pay $500 for it. But it still would have been cheaper than $2,400. So, and a strange man's hand in the crease of your cheeks. Because, hey, if you find the right girl, she might do that for you too, Oh, you want some C-star asinine? Or star asine? You want some beetroot? Apparently beetroot is insane for a pre-workout. It's like the antioxidants and stuff. They say the only thing is like when you pee. Don't be scared because the first time you pee, it's going to look like blood. But you're not bleeding. Even though, I don't know, what if you are bleeding? And you don't know because you never peed blood before. It don't really hurt, but you're peeing blood. How many times does your body get accustomed to where you're not peeing blood? I don't know. It's weird how there's certain foods, like asparagus will make it smell, Asparagus is known across the board. It will just make your pee smell like asparagus. But most fluids you drink, like orange juice, like, most of your pee is just going to be like yellowish, whatever. No matter what you drink. But for some reason, drinks apparently like beet juice. This shit's just the Red Sea, Be like, hey, you didn't flush. And she's like, no, you drank the beet juice again. I'm like, oh yeah, my bad. Oh, Jesus. But yeah. Beat it. But hey, you know what? Yeah. Anyways. So enough of that. Let me detox your brains from ever hearing that first 7.5 minutes of the show. Welcome to episode 292 of the Off the Beat podcast with Clint Nelson. I'm your host, Clint Nelson. Don't forget to like, follow, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell, most important ladies and gentlemen. Don't forget to suck some titties and iron your shirts. Must be nice, Tony Stark. You never have to iron your suit because it's already fucking made of iron. Listen to Iron Maiden, baby. Because I am a teenage dirtbag. I dress like a teenage dirtbag. Oh yeah, by the way, recording this on June 27th now, technically. 12:07 a.m. Eastern, yes. For the archives. And yes, this is a 2-a-day pod. Because boy's on a roll. Like Hamachi. Haven't heard from the Drakester in a while. But let me see Degrassi Knoll and assassinate this attempt of a podcast. That would be cool to have Drake on my podcast. But speaking of Drake being on podcasts, so the big one he did with that chick Bobby. Apparently she's getting kicked off tour. I didn't know she was on tour. She was doing a tour with Funny Marco. And the idea or the rationale, the reason for them kicking her off the tour, it wasn't anything tumultuous and not anything crazy happened. But they just said, yeah, she was a little stiff. And, everyone else is like, hey, what did you think you were getting? Everything she does has been stiff. I mean, she knows a thing or two stiff about Drake. She found out he's not like us. Apparently he is thinking about rumors are out there that he is thinking about putting out a few more sneak disses towards Kendrick. And as a Drake fan, please don't. Please don't. I'm tired. You know what? I'm tired of having to defend you when it's not working out. If you do this again, uncalled for, after the tumultuous cycle and lifespan you have put us through, please don't do it. I can't handle any more, Drake. You are putting me through some very, very traumatic, tumultuous. The same things you complain about, everyone in your songs never supporting you, never supporting your dream, you know, or always being these negative influences, or being people that you felt like weren't in your corner. I can't be in your corner. You can add me and all of your fans to the songs. If you want to keep sneak dissing him, it's over, man. I'll still listen to your music. I'm still a fan. But please, I beg of you, please don't. Please. Oh, Jesus. But yeah, we got Secret Service agents getting fired. We got people in Congress. You know, honestly, I'm surprised, you know, we be having these stupid big public trials or these public hearings, like when they had the steroid situation with the Mueller report, where it's supposed A-Rod, Clemens, so some, you know, all the big names and even some under the radar names that people kind of ignore. Like the whole thing where they had to go in front of Congress and speak under oath, it became a whole spectacle. It's like, it seems a little bit extreme to have these people under oath for taking steroids or not. For baseball, not even like Federation Olympics type of thing. You know, it's baseball. It's an American local sport type of thing. Like, I'm surprised we haven't had these things for rap beefs, you know, like the Drakes and Kendricks. Even because, you know, there is some legal stuff that was accused of it. So I don't know if we really want that to go to trial. And I don't know if you guys have been reading the news about anything. There's a lot of famous people in 2024, just in the past month, that's not been limited to YouTubers. They're being exposed for the underage kids or the underage teenage. Now, the Drake stuff, I'm not going to speak because it's a lot of subjective that's could be true, could not be. I'm not defending it. I'm not defending it, but there's a lot more evidence for these other instances. But I'm surprised that with all the allegations, they went back and forth. Just have them under oath and have them admit if these lines in these songs that they said to the other person, how much of it they 100% know is true. Would they be willing to go under oath for useless diss tracks that mean nothing until you go under oath and then you got legally tell the truth, you know? That would be an idea. But no one would want to do that because as much dirty laundry as you'll expose to the others, all of a sudden we'll find that you never did laundry. And boy, you got a lot sticking around. Yes, I'm looking at a few pieces of mine as we speak. We all got dirty laundry, you know? I just wish I didn't have to drive 15 minutes to do it every fucking time. But you know what? It's cool. But you know what else is cool? I've really thought about. You know, I've been called a quote-unquote suburban boy. And I don't mean the ones that drive around picking up my suburban. I was about to say something that would come out so wrong. My suburban friends. For some reason, I was about to say my suburban boy friends. But if I would have said that simultaneously, it would sound something completely different. My suburban boys. How about that, boys, Boyzs, and you know, watch some MILF vids together. You know, nothing wrong with that. But nothing wrong with the MILF cups. But no, anyway, sorry. Whew. I went down a deep rabbit hole of MILF cups, which stands for Motors in Line for Repair. Milfer. Oh, Milfer. Milfer's a milker. But anyways. Shit, I forgot what the fuck I was talking about. Oh, yeah. I so forgot what the fuck I was talking about. Anyways, yeah. Suburban. Oh, yeah, I'm a suburban boy, right? So, I like watching videos about living in the big city. Do I really want to live in the city? I don't really want it to like mainly live in the city. But I would like the lifestyle of living in the city. The issue is when you've gotten so accustomed to convenience of having a car and all that stuff, the change would be living like, let's say you live in New York City. That's like the most common one. New York City is like the one city you could probably live in and not legitimately own a vehicle. If you truly can do everything in the city. If you make enough money, you know how to get around, transportation, you know, all that stuff. And my thing is, the hard part would be, I think the hard part for an outsider going there would be to just getting there and getting accustomed to the fast-paced environment, right? Getting accustomed. Like, I would actually enjoy not having a vehicle, to be honest with you. Forget the financial aspect of it, the hassle of having a vehicle. But the walking around and stuff would actually be very enjoyable. And when you're not really at the house, like, if you're all constantly going to be in and out anyways, like, that lifestyle's more fun. It keeps you more alive. It keeps you more on edge. And there's just more stuff to do in proximity. And you probably have more of an appetite to go do things because it's all more available. Like, everything you need and want could be right there on a given day. You don't have to travel 45 minutes to close to the city to go do something interesting, you know. I think the hard part, if you're like a suburban type of lifestyle, going into that, like, can purely just raw dogging into it. I'm not talking about like, oh, you know, you smoothly entered, you live with a friend, save some money for a couple. Like, I mean, if you were to just, where you are today, move, get dropped off there, and let's just say on the spot, find an apartment or find a place to live for yourself, and then go from there, find a job, all that stuff. Let's just say you have a job place. Let's just make it easy. Then just learning everything is stressful enough when you're not familiar, because there's so many different parts of New York. You got to learn the ins and outs of times, save times, streets and stuff. Like, you know, using Google Maps all day, you want to be that fucking asshole. Like, you know, you got to actually have awareness of what's going on around you just for your safety. You can't be just looking down your phone. Oh, 4th Street. Okay. I think honestly, like, it looks stressful on the outside, but like, if you have a reason for wanting to live there, whether it's a job or a career or a pursuit you have, I think once you get accustomed and get in the midst of the lifestyle there, I think it would be just as easy or hard as living anywhere else that you're accustomed to. It's different challenges. And, like, I think people assume that someone that's, like, laid back or someone that is a very certain personality, they wouldn't survive there. And that may be true. But I think like anything, survival, you'll adapt to your environment and you'll become more like it. And you'll probably become more the opposite of what you think. And other things might start mattering to you. You know, we always want what's not what we don't have at the moment. Like it's easy when, you know, you live in open space and ruralness, the outskirts of a place. Like, you know, I want something more fast paced and stuff. And then you have some more fast paced, like, you know what, I want more privacy. I want more of this. I want more space. Like we always want something that is not there, even if we've had it before, just because it's something different, you know? So I don't know. That would be something interesting to me. I wouldn't want to live that life like every day of the year. I think the best form is like having two places you live. One for like 3 or 4 months and one for like the like 8 to 9, the other 8 to 9 months, you know. And you kind of cycle in between. Like you have one that's like your main comfort home, then one where you just kind of want to get lost in the mist of speed. The one in the midst of what's happening, the feeling aliveness, you know. The being present. And then the other, the kind of distance yourself and the isolate and the really kind of take all the experiences you have for that 3 or 4 months and really put it all together in your head and maybe create something interesting out of it. Where you would go to the New York type of city to really gain, I don't even want to say creativity because that's corny as fuck. But you want to really be in the midst of all the action. To really have to really keep your mind, to really keep your spirit active. And then you distance yourself and go back to, you know, the big old Scotland lens to piece everything you had together. And really put into perspective. And I believe it's very important, if possible. It doesn't even have to be the extremism of the open country on a farm and a long-ass driveway. And then go into these deeply populated cities where something's always happening. Because I think both type of cities force you to be different individuals. The fast-paced New York City, that everything's happening in the moment, it forces you to face your fears. It forces you to learn to be comfortable being uncomfortable. You learn to be in more social settings, even if you don't really want to. And maybe even like you're doing stuff of going on stage. Like, that's the best environment because you're going to get the most honest, the most ruthless, and you're going to get a genuine aspect of where you're at in your work type of thing. Where, you know, you can go over here and hide in the other place in Scotland and protect yourself, be in your room. There's no urgency. There's no time of the day, blah, blah, blah. And then you go over here and everything is just bam, 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 you know. I don't think being in one environment is good for all 12 months of the year. I think if you could ideally kind of find a balance between being here for a few months, going here for periods of times, and kind of having a back and forth if possible. I think that would be because you truly develop as a person and find that balance within yourself where you're not just acting. You're not just in that survival aspect, like I have to be this way whether I want to or not, just to be on edge, just to be present in survival. Where if I'm in this open, there's no time, I'm on no timeline, there's nothing really happening, everything's based off what I want to do, there's not really any pressure to get shit done. And at the same time, you're not really being forced to face challenges, but you also have the time to reflect on the previous stuff you experienced in the other place. So I think both serve its purpose. Both have its pros and cons. I think both are necessary to kind of live in both type of environments if you can afford to. But even if you can't afford to, just present those challenges in your life. It doesn't have to be different towns and cities, but you got to start putting yourself in different situations that may require all the different aspects of yourself to be able to be activated so they don't become stunted, not only stunted in growth, but also so you can actually be able to have a reference point to move past challenges in the future when you come across bigger challenges, and not be stunted in this, I'm afraid of this socially thing, or being afraid of going out to do this, or being afraid to put yourself out there because you either never had to or you're just too afraid to, So I think both serve its purpose. I think I would love, and I think a lot of people would enjoy the city life for a good while. But once you're accustomed to like having space, having time, not being rushed every single day, not feeling like you're always missing out on something, like there's I think my life, like for example, something I thought about, right? I think where you live can be a great context of interesting stuff you think about, how you think about things, how interesting stories you have. Like if I lived in New York City, bro, if I did this podcast, bro, like every day, bro, I would be so stimulated and anxiety and stressed and excitement that like I would be probably all over the place and like never have anything to not talk about. But I also would be very reactionary and probably not put together the most full, well together thoughts, and actually think more deeper or critically about being able to diagnose something in the moment, because I would be either having too much fun or I'd be just too busy being busy, where in a situation like now, and you have a much more conservative lifestyle, relaxed, you may not do as much, but you have more time to observe and look at things from yourself and outside, and you can actually put things together and really start connecting stuff out there within yourself. So I guess that's the pros and cons of both type of situations. And I think it's important over your life to live in both type of situations and challenge yourself. So I don't know, maybe I'll start eventually living in a city for a period of time, enjoy the life of being a lovely boyfriend. But nah, go live in Saudi Arabia or something. I don't know, but I don't know, But yeah, anyways, two important things. Today's sponsor, Ghost. Warhead, sour watermelon. There's your unsponsored sponsor of the day. Whew. Shit still hits. You know what else hits? Chris Brown. Apparently, apparently this man, backstage, you guys know the infamous Chris Brown backstage pictures of the ladies, $1,000, $2,000 meet and greets for them to take very intimate, suggestive photos at times. It actually lost a girl her boyfriend. I can't say she lost her boyfriend. I mean, she voluntarily took pictures of a certain thing, and her boyfriend, and they posted it online. Her boyfriend's like, nah, fuck this shit. You can have it. I guess she really did have no guidance. Huh? Get it? I guess Chris Brown saw her from across the room. Oh. She got his attention, all right. And apparently these random ass dudes that were going backstage to quote unquote congratulate Chris Brown on his performance. Like, you really think Chris Brown wants another random ass man congratulations on his performance when he was gyrating and talking about fucking your girl the whole show? Like, all of his songs are about taking your bitch. You really think he wants to hear your congratulations of, hey, Chris Brown, great performance. You could take my bitch, you know? And it got to speculation. And he barely, you know, him and his security team, but I guess mainly Chris Brown did participate. And he, assaulted a couple guys. And I know the easy thing, as I mentioned before, would be to blame, because Chris Brown has a history, not just with the main one that started it all, you know, the Rihanna stuff, which she has forgiven him for whatever that's worth. But honestly, you can just take that out. This dude's been on a tear of assaults with men and some women over time, allegedly. But I hate to say it, I will defend Chris Brown on this. I know. It's crazy. But, like, do we honestly really believe these guys were going to the back to, like, there's no, like, Chris Brown is not the type of artist to have the type of extreme fanboys that are actually, like, fanboys of him, you know? He would have fangirls, and there may be guys that like his music or listen to his music, but not the ones that are going to go to the concerts by themselves. Chris Brown's not the type of guy that you and the buds are like, hey, man, Chris Brown's coming to State Farm Arena. Want to get 3 tickets? Hey, bro, let's get VIP and take pictures with Chris Brown, you know? That would be cool. Like, he's not that type, you know? Now, Future, like, you know, there's certain artists that could fit that ilk, you know? But Chris Brown, the type of, you know, Usher can be like, you know, you could go to an Usher's like one of those, you could go with guys to an Usher concert. You can't be too close to the stage but you can't go to the backstage part. You know, there's just a weird, like, certain, like, R&B artists, like, it's kind of weird for just guys to go back there, like, and you're not going back there because you're just, like, a diehard fan, like, oh my God. You really think these guys were going back there to just really be like, oh my God. Oh my God. Like Bieber in his prime with the young ladies. I say young ladies. They were fucking 10 years old. What am I, Cody Co? What am I, Mr. Beast's assistant? Come here, you 14-year-old. Texting you heart emojis. Fucking creep. More like Mrs. Beast. Beauty in the Miss Beast. Oh, that is going to be one tragic fairy tale, I can tell you that. Ironically, Beauty and the Beast and Mr. Beast have huge kids audience. And trying to catch you while you're sleeping. Alright. But anyways, but I will say, like, honestly, just on the surface, if you go backstage unescorted, you aren't part of the VIP, like, you weren't escorted back there securely, and you just try to go back there to get Chris Brown's attention with his history, regardless of you guys, and when someone has a history, like, you got to take more of that stuff into account. Like, you honestly had it coming. I'm not advocating for guys getting assaulted or anyone getting assaulted, but at the same time, you know, if you go in the deer hunting zone during hunting season, you're going to be a silly rabbit, you know? If you go where trouble is, and this is where I think people need to take more of an initiative in life, and it sounds insensitive when you say, like, it's not that every time someone's a victim of something, they're in the wrong, because obviously that's not the case. But you also got to take a look back at yourself, like, am I putting myself in the worst position possible for something to happen? And sometimes in this situation, like, you know what? You had it coming. I'm not saying you deserve to get your ass beat by Chris Brown and his security team, but no one's going to feel too bad for you if you go somewhere uninvited and you get your ass beat, just for one. Two, to someone like Chris Brown who has no problem getting down like that. You know? You don't go, you don't break into someone's house and be mad when they tell you to get the fuck out of the house. You know? You can't, even though it does happen where someone breaks into your house and you assault them and beat the living shit out of them, and somehow they could sue you for excessive force. It's like they were trying to rob me, you know? But that's dumb shit that people get away with now. But whatever. The point is I don't have too much empathy, sympathy, whatever the fuck the term is, for guys that go backstage to a Chris Brown concert unannounced, uninvited, and they get their ass beat. I don't have too much empathy for that. So that's just my 2 cents. I could be wrong. Maybe I'm missing parts of the story, but as far as story, that's part I relay. You know? So there's me defending a domestic abuser and all that good shit. You guys can one day, 3 years from now, when the show is popping, and be like, oh, Clint's a domestic abuser advocate. It's like, well, when you go backstage to the concert uninvited, I mean, yeah, go ahead. If you're a guy. For a girl, there's no situation where that's okay in 99% instances. But I'm not going to get into when it's right or wrong about certain things. All I'm saying is, it's wrong, but you had it coming. That's all I'm saying. Anyways, it got me thinking, one day I plan on having a live show of this podcast. I'm manifesting it. I think that's when like, oh man, I'm doing some shit. When you have a live show for your show. People pay to come out to see you and see the real thing. And I think an advantage I would have that most people don't is I'm used to doing this solo, live, and unedited. Now, doing it in front of people could be completely different things, though. Admittedly so. Am I going to be one of those corny podcasters that does Q&A? I think that's just kind of lazy. Just like, oh, send questions. You guys did the show for me. It's like, okay. I'm not saying Q&A, but it's saying like doing a live show and then just doing Q&A for the whole show. Like doing it for segments or for the closing and stuff. That's cool. Like I have no problem with that. But I've heard about certain podcasts. They go somewhere and they'll open the show and then they just take questions from the audience. It's like I don't want to be an audience member and do the fucking work for you. It's like this controversy that these singers are getting, like specifically Bieber, but these singers are getting, I'll promise, I'll get back to the podcast thing in a second. But there's this Indian wedding of this family, the Indians are really on one recently. This Indian family, apparently this marriage, they've been celebrating this wedding for like a year or so. I don't know what the fuck that means, but for this wedding, they are paying, like, they have Bieber there, they have Katy Perry, they have Beyonce, and they pay Katy Perry more than Beyonce. That's the fucking insane part. But they starting a firework? Okay. She kissed a girl and she liked it. I missed that version of Katy Perry. Now she's just hot and cold. But anyways, they paid Bieber $10 million. They paid Katy Perry $5 million and Beyonce $4 million. And I think Rihanna did it for a good chunk of change too. Now they're getting scrutinized because they're taking, they're just taking money and stuff, like, oh, it's a cash grab. And then Bieber went there and he basically had the audience sing like half the performance and stuff. Like there's like this clip of him just putting the mic out to this one person. They're saying he's like, yeah, he was into it. You know, he's energetic. But it's like, hey, man, we didn't come to hear this, you know, girl that can't sing. We paid you $10 million, you know? She's already got $10 million, you know? She's part of the family, you know? But, you know, and people are like, oh, they're spending their money on vanity. They're not. All that money that they're giving to these artists, they could be doing the better homelessness and all this stuff. It's like, hey, bro, you know what? If you had as much money as them, I hate to say it, a lot of y'all, how y'all view your birthdays, you guys be celebrating for 3 weeks on a $200 budget. So you know what? I really don't. So you guys would be doing the same. If you had this type of oil, whatever the fuck type of money they have, where they could spend all year celebrating two ugly ass, I don't know if they're ugly. Actually, I didn't even see the two people that got married. They were the least important part. The important people were like the fathers and the mother, the people that paid for it. No one even knows the two people that got fucking married. They're the least important people in this whole thing. See, everyone wants these extravagant weddings, but imagine like, oh, I'm going to have the richest wedding in history and all this stuff. You're the bride and the groom. And then the only thing that people remember about it is everything but you. Yeah, how the fuck does that feel? But that's going to be a killer honeymoon. But anyways. But nah, you know what? It's weird. Like, obviously, it's a waste of money. They could be using that money, like, the family spent, like, you know, using the... Because there's no reason a family should have that much money when we got all these families struggling. We got wealth inequality and all this stuff. I don't really know the issues in India, but I know in all countries there's wealth inequality to some extent. There's a few families that have like 40% of the country's wealth, and then everyone else, you split it up, you know, like peas. And and these artists are like, oh, you're going to perform 30 minutes. You can bring that money back and give it to the homeless and stuff. It's like, they ain't going to do nothing. But okay, cool. But anyways, yeah, that's neither here nor there. But anyways, back to the important things. My future solo live podcast. I thought about it, you know. I kind of forgot the point I was going to go with the live podcast. Damn. Rats. This is what happens when you go all over the place. Yeah. I guess the main thing would be like, if I were doing a live podcast, right? You know, that probably mean I have money in the bank, right? That probably mean I have a deal. That probably means I'm doing pretty damn good. Maybe not. Damn. Well, I remember I was talking about something like a Q&A. Yeah. It's just lazy. You know, just go up there and podcast, right? That's the easy thing to say from a dumb fuck like me. I know it's not good to call yourself dumbasses and dumb fucks, but you know what? It's okay. Because no one would listen to smart people do the shows, right? God damn it. It does annoy me that I forgot what the fuck I was talking about. God damn it. This is why you don't go all over the place. Because eventually it catches up to you. But you know what's the great part? Nothing. Anyways. So yeah. Oh. That's what it was. Yeah, if I was like solo podcasting on the stage, right? I think the beauty of it is simply that there's no one you could blame but yourself if it's going bad. And you get to take all the credit if it's doing good. Oh, it actually reminds me of something. I heard something. I think it was yesterday. The thing about having a facade, right? And here's where it could kind of where it catches up to you if you're being disingenuous or you're putting on a facade or being a character, whether that's something you're doing or just you're putting up a facade to everyone in real life. Is that where people find out, where people typically can take credit and take it in stride and take criticism, is if they're putting up a facade, right? If they're just kind of being not really themselves, like, you always know that. You can't lie to yourself. I mean, people can lie to themselves, but the way we internalize and feel. If we're putting up a facade, if people criticize it, you know, we know, like, it doesn't mean anything. It's whatever. Because it's not real. Like, you're not going to feel that direct shot. And the thing is also, when they give you credit, or like, man, you're great. It's like, oh, man, like, I like you and all this shit. It's all, whether it's everyday life or let's just say you're doing a show, is that they could do all that and you're not going to feel, because you know it's not really you. They're saying, oh, man, I like it. They're liking this facade or this character you put up. The beauty about being genuine or being yourself is that when people shit on you, people don't like you, one, at least you know the truth of what people think about you. Two, is that you will feel it when it hurts. And then also, when all the good comes in for you, you're going to feel that and then some, right? And it creates a cycle of you actually get the benefits and you get the harsh truth of reality, I guess is what you could say. You get the harsh truth of reality and you benefit from that, because it's going to benefit you in the long term to actually be able to go ahead and accept the real version of the real you. I know I butchered all that, but it sounded so much better when I listened to it. But anyways. But yeah, you know, going on stage, being a podcaster, you know, hopefully I'll have a producer by then, you know, someone that's like, hey, let me actually make this visually appealing, you know. Let me actually edit your audio. Let me actually, you know, make you bearable. Let me actually do the hard work for you. I'm like, great. That'd be great. And that's all I think, you know. I thought about. I have a fictional number in my head. I want to put this out there. I had this dream last night. Legitimately. Like, when you actually have time to think, you actually have real dreams that you remember. I had this dream that I signed a 3-year, $70 million deal as a podcaster with Spotify. It didn't say the year. I kind of have an idea of the age that it happened, right? And by the time, honestly, this potentially could ever realistically happen, they might not even be doing exclusive deals like that. They may not. So I don't even know how realistic that number is, type of thing. But I remember I had this dream, right? And 3 years, 70 million, I remember signing it, how it came up to me. They came up to where I was. It became like a whole dramatic scene at the job I worked at. And like, your life's going to change. We're offering you this contract. They offered it in front of all my peers and stuff. And I was like, oh my God, you know. And I was like, oh, sign it over here, baby. And instantly my life changed like that, right? And I remember I signed that deal. I sound like it's real life. I signed that deal. And literally, it's like in the dream, it flashes, like it fast forwards, like in stages. I remember the next stage, like now they gave me like, oh, we got an editor for you. We got this, that for you. We got this whole setup for you, like a whole studio funded by them. I moved to I think it was like somewhere in California I moved to. They funded my move and all this shit. I could move to a great pad and all this stuff. And it was just like, wow. It felt like a euphoric feeling that like, wow. It felt real. Like, it almost felt like it was real life for a second. And the only reason why it was like the first time I had a dream that I could remember it was because, one, it's the first time I've got really good sleep without listening to anything. I think that's why I woke up today and had this great inspiration. Because I dreamt something and it felt real and it feels like something attainable. To me. $70 million, I don't know. You know, who knows? But it was like that feeling of like, man, it's not even about the money. It's like literally about you put your mind towards something. You were committed to something against all odds. You loved and enjoyed something, and then it became the thing that you do. But one thing I've worried about, right, is typically people that are the best at what they do, top of the game in podcasting, is they have another thing that they are more well known for before they had a successful podcast. So that's got me like, you know, what it like typically is someone like, oh, they were a commentator in this, or oh, they were a former athlete, or they're a comedian, or they were an act, like something that gave them a fan base before that. But to be first known for podcasting, like that's the thing. Not like, oh, you did commentary videos, built a fan base. Like, no. The first thing you made your name off and got big off of was this thing. Just building this. Not you got famous from doing clips on this. Like, no, this is what you got big on. It's happened. Like, I think of a few examples or people that come from radio, but they built their name off radio and transferred it over. Like, how many have actually just done that? Probably not as many as you think. Typically, everyone that had a profession outside of it that typically is their niche of what they talk about or what they give advice about or their general leanings in life. People grab, but like some ignorant dumbass like me, and I say that lightly. I don't mean like I'm legitimately ignorant, I'm legitimately a dumbass. But I say that like some person that comes out of nowhere like me. For that to happen, you're overcoming even more odds, objectively. So, I think that's what made it feel so more intense. It's like, man, you motherfucking did it. So, yeah. And I also realize I'm coming close to 300 episodes. And I'm hoping to do something big for the 300th episode. You know, we'll see. I'm hoping to get a good friend of mine, but we'll see, you know. Yeah, won't go too much further than that. But yeah, I guess the moral of all that is trust yourself. The day I do a live show is like the day that people who I worked with all the time, people that I know in my everyday life that didn't know I do a podcast, will be the day like, holy shit. This motherfucker does a podcast? It's like, yeah. It's crazy when you look up the statistics for that, though. If you guys have ever looked up, it's so crazy. I actually looked up yesterday. I look it up like once a year. The amount of podcasts, the amount of episodes the average podcast does. How many podcasts have been made in the past year and stopped after X amount of episodes? Like, you look there. And it's pretty insane. Like, the amount of downloads it takes to only be in the... It's crazy. The amount of downloads it takes just to be in the top 25 percentile of average podcasts that are currently... of active podcasts is literally like a crazy low number, believe it or not. Like, if you get 110 downloads per episode on average... you were technically in like the top 10 percentile podcast or some crazy number like that, or maybe top 25. And if you get like 1,000 plus more, you're in like the top 10. And then like 10,000 or like 50,000 plus, you're in the top 1. 10,000, like I know all this shit. Like I'm not just some dumbass that pressed recorder one day. Like I looked up all this shit. I know all the shit. So, but yeah. Anyways, enough of me. Let's get to know more of you. Today's quote to leave y'all with is, there may be a hole in your crotch, but boy, when you smell, as 21 Savage would say, it's a lot. I'm such a fool. 21. That's the legal age of consent, guys. Actually, it's 18. But you know what? Since 18 seems to be like a confusion part, how about you guys that can't handle just fucking girls of your age, or wanting to be intimate, or having relations with girls of your age? If you're like 23, 24, just don't mess with a girl unless she's 21 or older. Play it safe. There is no 19-year-old at the age of 25 that's going to be like, man, this is my future wife. It never works out that way. I'm sorry. There's always going to be something weird about it. Just wait till people are 21. I got shit for this. You know, back in the day when the boy used to be on the dating apps, when I would meet up with girls, I would ask, like, I didn't care what they thought. I had a couple girls just be like, you know what, I'm good. I would ask for their ID. Like I'm their dad or some shit. 'Cause I was not dealing with it. You know what? And if someone gets that, like, I understand, be a little like, really? But then show him, we move on about it. But like, you guys need to start asking for ID number. Or not ID. You guys need to start asking for girls' IDs. Like if you're willing to risk your whole life and legal life for a girl a couple years younger than you think she is, hey, you know what? By all means, you deserve what's coming to you. Just stick to girls and boys your age. This is the guys and girls. Stick to people your age. All right? It's really not that hard. Jesus. But yeah, anyways. That was episode 292 of the Offbeat Podcast with Clint Nelson. I'm your host, Clint Nelson. Don't forget to like, follow, comment, subscribe to the notification bell. Most for ladies and gentlemen, don't forget to suck some titties. And I realized I never look inside the fucking camera the whole fucking episode. I've been doing this for a long time. It's a bad habit. I need to go on a detox just to learn how to make eye contact. I guess looking at myself can be a little, intense. Yep. That is a douchebag self-indulgent joke. All because I have a wrinkly shirt with a bloated stomach. So yeah. All right, guys. And ladies, have a great day, morning, night, evening. And don't forget to smile. Ooh, that's a nice breeze.